Hello, and welcome back to If These Old Beasts Could Talk. And today, I'm going to do that video that I was talking about. I'm going to teach you how to make your house's electrical system look just that little bit vintage, while still obeying electrical codes, of course, because nobody wants an unhappy safety inspector. Remember what the screen used to look like a second ago? All you really have to do for the first part of making your electrical system or house look vintage is to heat up the lighting a little bit. Now, this seems very warm on camera, but it's not that warm in real life. It's pretty average. It feels like what you used to get from an older incandescent bulb. And now I'll show you actually some of the products that create this light. You could use just a regular sort of LED bulb that's got like a special coating on it to make that light, or if you want to have like a truly vintage electrical system, you could buy what I show you next, which is, in my opinion, some of the nicest replica vintage electrical bulbs on the market. So now that we're back to the regular light, I'm going to start bringing the light bulbs over that are part of this GE vintage line of bulbs that I like so much. So there's a little bit of a code you need to see here. Sorry about the rolling light bulbs. And I'll actually bring over the bulbs. Never mind. So these bulbs right here are what are considered GE vintage brand, vintage line bulbs. You get like traditional light bulbs in this sense, which these are all designed after common vintage bulbs that you'll find in like old homes and old catalogs and all that. But not all of them are old style incandescent bulbs. This is the bulb that you just saw turning the color of the lighting yellow. This right here is actually an LED that's shaped like an incandescent filament. Special little LED strip. You can see there's like contacts in there that make that happen. And one way to tell it apart too is that these have an aluminum or steel base, and the actual incandescent ones have a brass base. Oh, and fun fact, this is actually still glass. Now, these next two bulbs are actual traditional incandescent bulbs, like things you'd actually find back in the olden days. This right here is just a small incandescent bulb. They have about 9/10 of a year lifespan, this one does. And I think this flame bulb over here has a little bit longer of a lifespan. I don't have the box on me right now. But yeah, those two are actual incandescent bulbs that you saw just then and you see now. These will burn out just like the old bulbs. But now we'll get into ways to make the electrical system actually look older while you're building it. These are just little ways to aesthetically make it look older. I don't have any of the GE vintage fixtures, but those are really nice because those look like your 1920s sort of hanging pendant fixtures, as they call them. Yeah, we'll get into the actual fixture portion now. So the first fixture is something that I see common. These are really a timeless fixture right here. These sort of these sort of like ceiling mounted porcelain base pull chain fixtures. I've seen these in houses that were built brand new nowadays. In fact, this fixture right here is actually kind of new. And I've seen these fixtures in houses going, at least to me, all the way back to like 1920. These fixtures were always sort of common, but are still produced nowadays, and quite frankly are some of the most widely available vintage looking fixtures. Here, I'm going to put a light bulb in it here for a second so you can see how it looks. And here's that fixture with a light bulb in it. You know, this kind of starts to give you sort of like Edison light bulb experiment vibes, just with like the base and the light bulb coming up and stuff like that. But yeah, this is like a sort of vintage setup right here that you could use for your lighting system. And best part, again, is that this is all code. That fixture right there is modern. That light bulb, I bought that 3 days ago. And, well, that about does it for what I can show you in regards to the lighting section. For the next part, I'm going to actually go over things you can do to make your plugs and your fixtures look vintage, if you don't have that. Now, when I say fixtures, I just mean your plug mounts, like your wall outlets and light switches and the such. But I'm really going to demonstrate and bring home today the actual plug portion of that. Now, one thing I find interesting is that apparently it's often required for metal back boxes to be used in places where there's exposed wiring and all that. So this kind of makes it perfect for the purpose that I have in hand. But one of the things you can do to backdate your electrical system, metal back boxes. I say this because I have multiple metal back boxes in this room right now that I've seen. Connected to really, really old fibrous knob and tube or NM wiring, which is sketchy and not code. But yeah, that's what you can do really if you want to like just build it old. You can use that. You can also use BX cabling, of course, with a third ground wire, because BX cabling was actually the second generation of wire. This was developed around the same time as knob and tube. Well, not around the same time, but it's the first thing to be developed aside it. Then came fibrous non-metal wiring, and then after fibrous non-metal wiring came the modern plastic vinyl-coated Romex that we know nowadays. But yeah, that right there is one way to do it. Another way is to bring these things to the table. Now, these are brown fixtures, sockets, and cover plates. These are made by Eaton. The reason I chose brown is because brown is got that old Bakelite look about it. Now, what's interesting about that is that if I bring over something I have over here, now notice it's in a plastic bag because it's got some spicy fibers in it. That's an original electrical socket from my house. And as you can see, the backside is made out of that brown colored material. That's Bakelite from back in the day. And Bakelite was one of the first plastics that we really ever produced. But as you can see, so obviously brown would make it look slightly older. So let's combine all three of these things and show you what it looks like. And as you see here, this is the completed sort of plug and back box combination. This right here is probably about as true to old style Bakelite electrical stuff as you can get while still remaining code. An interesting little side thing here for the video too. This is that plug with a old radio plug plugged into it. This is actually connected to my Zenith radio, which is right next to me. But yeah, so it just goes to show that like this blends in really well with the old style of electrical wiring and actual plugs and fixture wiring going up to your appliances and your vintage electric powered stuff. The only thing that would be cooler and older is if there was fiber cabling surrounding that. But no, it's plastic. This is late enough in the mid-century that plastic actually was starting to be used quite a bit. So an interesting little bonus photo I have for you here. This is actually one of the original bathroom fixtures in my house. I put that GE vintage bulb that's like a stick in it, and they look the same on both sides. And the fact I was able to get this shot is because I can actually turn this one off and the other one on because of that little nub on the bottom, because they were originally independent from the light switch, just because of how old electronics work. So yeah, I got GE vintage bulbs and kind of restored these things. Anyway, let's get to the end here. Well, anyway, I hope this video has helped you in the quest to maybe make your electrical system just look that little bit original to your old house, or if you're building a new house, just to have that sort of vintage or industrial vibe around a certain room and all of that. Because remember, just because it looks old doesn't mean it has to be as dangerous as the old stuff. In fact, aesthetically, we have a lot to learn from these people. I mean, who wouldn't want like a cool, sleek, brown fixture, like nice uh flame-shaped bulbs. You know, I kind of wonder the origin of these. I wonder if maybe people were like, "Oh, I want my gas lighting back," or "Oh, I want my oil torch," or something like that in the hallway. Because I have a lot of fixtures that are upright in my house, including some original ones, that I think that might have been the idea, was to have it look more like you have the old gas light or like the old oil lamp vibe. Anyway, this has been If These Old Beasts Could Talk, and I hope this video was a help to some people.